So I wanted to find out more about this, and I talked to a woman that we've used before. She's been on Oprah. She's talked to lots of, she's a world expert in teen and dating violence. Dr. Jill Murray. She's based out of Orange County. She's a licensed marriage and family therapist, a psychologist. She said she goes all over doing speaking tours, and even her personal clients have had this happen to them. She told me the story of a guy who found the pictures on his daughter's phone.
He looked through her phone and found 16 naked pictures of herself, of his daughter in really, really disgusting XXX poses for her boyfriend. He will never, ever get those pictures out of his head, ever. And I wish that kids would think about that for half a second. What if your parents found out?
Well, even worse than that, because you can deal with the parents finding out and, you can have a nice long talk with mom and dad. What do you deal with the fact that they're out there in the netherlands of the net for the rest of your life?
Once they're out there, you can't take it back.
Yeah,
so
once you're looking for a job, once you're looking to get in school, which, by the way, job applicants or job interviewers and schools now typically go through Facebook and find out what's out and might find out what's going on out there.
Absolutely. So why do these kids do it? Well, the first is just the pure physical nature of the kids' brain development. Dr. Jill says these kids, their brains aren't fully developed. They lack impulse control. So why aren't they thinking through it? Well, that's one reason. There's peer pressure. It's a way to harass other teens. It's a way to get attention. And then a lot of times these boyfriends will say, oh, it's just for me. I won't look at it, with anybody else. And it's for me to remind me of you when you're not there. She says basically it's a high-tech way to flirt.
It's often at the suggestion of the boyfriend, and he assures her that he's not going to show them to anybody else, just for him, so he can see her when he's not with her, and he makes it sound real exciting and almost romantic.
So then the basic question is, if it's flirting, how does this go bad? And she says, well, it goes bad in two ways. They're hormonal teen boys. They're not going to keep it to themselves. Right. They're going to brag about it. Or when they break up.
They get shown around. The girl's reputation, of course, is ruined. She's devastated. She feels betrayed. And when and if they break up, then those pictures seem to find their way to some social networking sites.
Which is your point exactly.
Yeah, it's the thought of doing this, and again, we have not yet had that issue because our girls do not send photos like this.
That you know of.
Well, I would...
That you know of.
Yeah, that
Have
I
you
know
looked at their pictures that they've sent and taken?
Absolutely, yeah. Where we look at those pretty carefully. And I don't want to talk too much about it, but needless to say, we're pretty careful about what the girls do or don't do. So we're not there yet, but... Although Marjorie is. She's sending naked pictures of herself all over the internet, and I have a big fight with her about this, but that's a different story.
Totally different.
That's a whole different story. How do you get the girls to understand this? Far more guys sending naked pictures of themselves, no one's not going to get a job, especially if you're working for a He-Man ex-Marine. Oh, look at that. Girls, of course, it's a whole different story sending these naked photos.
Absolutely.
So how do you convince these young ladies the utter devastation this can cause?
Well, you talk to your girls before this starts. The conversation starts before the pictures have been sent. Again, this is according to Dr. Jill. Parents need to look for the pictures on the kid's phone. You check the incoming messages and the sent messages, and you got to remember that you're the parent, so basically that you don't need their okay to check their phone.
I don't think parents should say, oh, it's just the way teenagers are now and kids will be kids. This is serious stuff. If your kid is sending or accepting naked pictures of somebody, this is just really disgusting and serious, and you need to have a talk with them.
So I said, yeah, okay, but Dr. Jill, a lot of parents don't understand how to start that conversation. So how do you actually talk with them if you do find the pictures? Who cares how graphic they are? If you find stuff on there that you don't approve of, how do you even start that conversation? And she had a few suggestions.
Why you're doing it in the first place. What is it about you that thinks so little of yourself, so little of your body, so little of your soul that you would do this?
And she says then you bring in your family values, whether they be religious values or moral values or however you set your benchmarks. That's when you start talking about that. And you establish a value judgment with taking those pictures right away. And then she said you also need to make sure that you know the password to your kid's phone so you can just go pick it up and look before they'd have a chance to delete them. You also want to buy a phone without a camera, maybe. or buy a phone that has parental controls. She said a lot of times we give kids technology and privacy and no guidance on how to use either of them. Another option that a lot of schools are actually looking into is educating parents about these photos, that this practice even exists. Some schools are sending home letters already, and how the pictures can be, explaining to the parents how the pictures can be passed around everywhere. Some school-based programs are also explaining the consequences, and they're focusing on the use of the internet and the email. But what people don't realize is even though these are sent by 12-year-olds or 16-year-olds, you can be not only suspended from school, but charged with a felony.
Yeah, that is the next thing I was going to talk about.
Yeah.
A girl sending photos of herself, and she is underage, is sending pornography.
Child pornography.
She is guilty
Absolutely.
of sending child pornography, even if it's of her.
Now,
and they don't get that.
No, they don't. There's been at least a dozen cases in the last several months nationwide of this happening, children being charged with felonies related to this. Some of the examples of the charges filed were distributing child pornography, solicitation, possession of child pornography with the intent to distribute. Some states are actually considering easing up those penalties. Utah is one example. It's got a bill that's on the way to the governor to see if that governor will sign it or not, to bump it down from a felony to a misdemeanor. The thought behind that is that if parents catch their kids doing this, if it's a felony, they would be less likely to turn their child in. If it's a misdemeanor, they would turn their kid in and get them treatment.
Also, it's very different an adult sending child pornography than a child sending naked pictures of herself. Even though it is an offensive thing to do, it's certainly not on the same level.
But the problem is states like California and a lot of laws around the country don't discriminate against a person's age when they charge for possession, for distribution. You can even be charged for having, like you said, pictures of yourself on your phone. If you are underage, it's still child pornography.
Now, the only thing that, of course, helps you if you are underage is upon your 18th birthday, the record is sealed. And it doesn't follow you as if you do it at you're 18 years old.
Which is great, but if the pictures are on MySpace, forget about it. That's
small consolation if the pictures stay with you for the rest of your life. And I got to tell you, it could absolutely ruin your life. You know, a mistake made. This isn't the days when you could make a mistake. You could end up getting a girl pregnant. You got pregnant. That disappears. That actually disappears. And when I was a kid, when I was a youngster, back in the 1800s, all right, what happened is if a gal got pregnant, she went off to Aunt Emma's, the child was given up for adoption. I mean, it's a monumental, life-changing experience, but the stigma did not stay with her for the rest of her life.
And things are
This does.
And you're absolutely right. And the way things have changed are that now these teen girls, they compete against each other for these young boys' attention. So this is a way to maybe one-up the girl down the hall. You know, if you can't be flirting with him while she is, because she's with him at his locker, then you can send him a dirty picture. If you've got his cell phone.
That's just lovely. So a warning, and this is what we tell our girls. Whoever, and they have these little boyfriends now. I mean, they all go as a group. They're going to be 14 years old. You will break up with every guy you are with for the next 10 or 15 years. You absolutely will break up. Guys are pigs. They will do everything horrible to you that they possibly can. And if they have photos of you in compromising positions, you'll be able to buy them at your high school. You'll be literally
glossy 8x10.
People will go, would you autograph this, please? Because it's a great photo of you.
And the thing is, Bill, the point that Dr. Jill, I think, was trying to make is you talk with your girls and you establish those values and you warn them all you can, and that's the start.
Yeah.
But there has to be the parental follow-through of you grabbing their phone without any warning, again, so you don't give them the chance to change or delete anything, and you physically scrolling through all of their messages.